Accompanied by a wall of angry water, Junpei shot out of the room and into the opposing wall. Gasping to catch his breath, he looked around. He was in a narrow hallway. The water that followed him out of the room was rapidly pouring out of the door. It flowed quickly down the hallway and slammed into the foot of a short flight of stairs. Just 5 steps, in fact, and at the top of the short staircase... a door! Another door! Junpei leapt up the stairs straight for the door. The door burst open and Junpei exploded out of it, only to freeze in his tracks. What other possible response could there have been to what he saw? What the hell? His voice trailed off. All he could do was stare. That's pretty. A polished floor stretched out before him. Ornate staircases rising up from the edges, each one of them equidistant from the others. Oh, equidistant, equal distance. Got it! The stairs and pillars were solid wood, and Art Nouveau embellishments and decorations covered the walls and pillars. It looked like nothing so much as the entrance to a luxurious mansion from the early 1900s. Junpei couldn't help but wonder. Was he really in a ship? The water quickly filling the hallway behind him suggested that yes, he was. As he looked, a fresh wave rolled out the room he had been in, gathering speed as it moved toward the end of the stairs. Yeah, that's what I thought. This is totally a boat. Wait, what the hell? What? A wave? Fuck. Shut the door. Shit, I gotta get out of here. Junpei spun around, his wet shoes squeaking in protest on the polished floor, and ran the tremendous staircase in front of him. C deck. B deck. As he ran, he glanced quickly at the plates mounted on the wall, denoting the decks of the ship. He took the stairs 2 at a time, not entirely sure where he'd find himself. Just as he began to wonder where, in fact, the stairs did lead. Oh, hey! He took the stairs... wait. Junpei saw another person out of the corner of his eye. I don't think you're really getting much support there, and I don't know how that's physically possible. He stopped short, nearly tipping over the next stair, and looked. It wasn't just one person he'd seen. On the landing to the left of the stairs, there were 4 people staring at him. You're cute. And on the right side, 3 more. All told, there were 7 of them, and you make 8. It looked as though they had been on their way down the stairs. They stopped short when they saw Junpei, their eyes wide. He'd done the same, of course, and now they stood there staring at one another. Junpei didn't move, one foot placed awkwardly on the next step in the middle of a stride. Who were these people? The entire interaction lasted only a matter of seconds. The woman spoke to Junpei, and time began to move again. I guess there's another one of us now. The woman was dressed, Junpei thought, rather like a dancer. Her clothes covered very little, and her prodigious jewelry little more. Hey, you! Come on! Hurry! With no further ceremony, she ran, straight past Junpei and toward the doors behind him. The sudden proximity of a woman with such striking assets big breasts left Junpei momentarily stunned. But the others wasted no time and quickly followed the strange woman. The first to pass Junpei was a young man with silver hair. You are pretty, I like you. He threw a quick glance in Junpei's direction as he ran, muttering, one of us, huh? Following him was an older man, his face calm and without fear. Soft wrinkles sprouted from his eyes, and he came close enough as he passed for Junpei to see wisps of gray in his hair. His composure and shock of hair struck Junpei as rather like an elderly lion. Lion. Going up won't do you any good. There are 2 doors, but neither of them will open. You're cute. The next to speak was a girl with pink hair and a high voice. Come on! Aren't you coming? You gotta hurry. Her small hand was wrapped around the wrist of another man. His eyes were closed, almost as though he were sleeping. His features were graceful, almost serene, and he was dressed rather elegantly for someone his age. Something about his posture seemed very refined, and Junpei couldn't help feeling he was noble and dignified somehow. He'd certainly never seen one, but this man seemed like what Junpei had always imagined a prince would be like. That's 9 of us, then. All of the cards are in hand. What does all of the cards are in hand mean, he wondered. Junpei opened his mouth to ask what the other men had meant, but the girl with pink hair rushed past him and they were gone. He turned just in time to see 2 more people running toward him. One of them had hair like a bird's nest. A bird's nest. And looked as though a stiff breeze might topple him. And the other was a veritable mountain of a man. The scrawny one said nothing and scuttled past Junpei as though running from something. Hey, what the hell are you standing here for? Didn't you hear him? What? The doors on deck A are no good. We gotta check the doors on B deck. Got it? Now go! Before he had a chance to respond, the man laid a massive hand on Junpei's shoulder. With no more effort than Junpei would have used to brush aside a fly, the man shoved him out of the way. Whoa! Thrown off balance by the men and recent events, it took Junpei a few steps to get his bearings. He finally regained his balance and looked up at what the other 7 had been running toward. There were 2 pairs of large iron doors set into the wall in front of him. They looked quite sturdy and each had handles jutting from them. Written across the surface of each door in red paint was a number. The door on the right had a 4, and on the door on the left had a 5. They're the same. The guy Junpei had decided to call Silver was mumbling to himself. The room I woke up in had a number on the door just like that. You too, eh? With an arched eyebrow, the lion looked over at Silver. My cell was the same. A number on the door. I opened it and ran down the hallway and outside and found myself in a rather grand room, full of stairs, as I suspect, but did the rest. Of you. Yeah. It was as though the floodgates had been opened. They all began to talk at once. Me too. I did too. Yeah, a door with a number on it. Soon became clear that each one of them had woken up in a room with a locked door and solved a puzzle to escape. They'd all ended up in the same room, almost as though they'd been guided there. Yes, we all saw the same thing. That's not important. We need to hurry. Yeah, you think I don't know that, lady? Before the dancer had time to finish, Silver was already running. He grabbed hold of the door labeled 5 and pulled. However, you probably have to go to the one with your number on it, dude. Fuck, it's not opening. The damn thing won't even budge. Move. You're in the way. The mountain grabbed Silver's shoulder and tossed him aside. His path cleared, he took a few steps back, then threw himself out the door. Of course you guys aren't going to open it. It's my door. It's my number. Go to your own numbers. Once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. The door shook as his body slammed into it, but showed no signs of breaking or opening. The mountain man threw himself at the door again. Junpei turned toward door 4. Next to the door on the wall was a small box. It looked just like the one that he had seen in his room next to that door. If it was the same, then this door was likely locked as well. Still, he had to check. Junpei grabbed a handle and threw all of his weight onto it. Yeah. It was locked as tight as the door next to it, as he had suspected. Damn it! Junpei punched the door. It did not respond. It did not respond. Were these the only doors, he wondered? He'd barely finished the thought when the C-deck plate he'd passed on his way up sprang, unbidden to his mind. His body moved before he had time to think. Junpei turned and ran back toward the stairs. He had scarcely taken a step when, at the top of the stairs, next to an ornate clock embedded in the wall, he saw a person. Hey, pretty! It was a girl. She looked to be the same age as Junpei. He froze, unable to look away from her face. He wasn't confounded by her beauty or something equally silly. Sure. No, there was another reason he couldn't take his eyes off the girl. Junpei had seen her somewhere before. He couldn't quite remember where, but he knew he'd met her before. The girl too stared at Junpei, similarly stunned. Her response suggested she'd seen him before as well. Without saying a word, Junpei walked slowly toward her. She didn't move. It was almost as though she was held in place by some sort of magic spell. As Junpei stepped on her landing, the spell was broken. No sooner had he set foot down than the whole ship shook a second time. The quake caught the girl unprepared and she fell. Moving on instinct, Junpei leapt to catch her. Or so he thought. Oh, hey. I like this situation. We kind of fell, and I broke your fall, or maybe I fell on you. But either way, you're pretty, and close. Her face was far closer than it should have been, mere inches from my own. He was flat on his back, and she had landed squarely on top of him. The girl seemed as confused as he did, and her face suggested she hadn't fully recovered from seeing him. You're pretty. For a moment that seemed to stretch for a very long time, they stared at each other. The ship stopped shaking. Everything was quiet. Water could be heard from the bottom of the ship lapping faintly at walls and ceilings, but eventually that faded as well. The silence was complete, a thick, muffling blanket. At last the girl opened her mouth. Oh my gosh. Is that you, Jumpy? Jumpy? Jumpy. Jumpy. Her words echoed through Junpei's head, and suddenly his memory returned. Akane. Aww, cute. Why hadn't he realized it before? This girl was Akane Kurashiki. She and Junpei had been friends in childhood. They'd gone to elementary school together for 6 years. But what was she doing on the ship? Her soft eyes were only inches away from his own. He could feel the warmth of her face. Feelings he thought he'd long forgotten began to work their way onto the surface. He could feel his face heating up. At that moment, a speaker crackled to life and a cold, eerie voice filled the room. Welcome aboard. I welcome you all from the bottom of my heart to this vessel. With the voice's invasion, the spell between Junpei and Akane was broken. All the hints of burgeoning romance instantly forgotten. They hurriedly untangled themselves from one another and struggled to their feet. Their 7 companions had heard the voice as well, and many of their faces had gone pale. They looked around frantically, desperate to locate the source of the voice. At last they found it. A speaker set in the ceiling. I am Zero, the captain of the ship. I am also the person who invited you here. The voice was harsh, obscured occasionally by the sound of static. I'm not even going to attempt. But Junpei recognized it. How could he have forgotten it? Hi. It was the same voice he had heard from the man in the gas mask. Hey, asshole, what the hell is this? Come on out here, I want to get a look at you. What do you mean to do to us? I mean to have you participate in a game. Some of you, I know, are familiar with this game. The nonary game. It is a game where you will put your life on the line. Nonary game? What the hell is that? The voice continued, implacable. Implacable? Placable? The rules of the nonary game can be found upon your persons. They are simple rules. Read them. Nonary game? Hey, there's something in my pocket. Check this out. Silver reached into his pocket and pulled out a small slip of paper. The rest of them reached into their own pockets and pulled out similar slips of paper. Junpei followed suit and dug into the pocket of his pants. He felt the telltale crumple of paper, slightly damp from his earlier ordeal. Hey, I got one too. Then it would seem Zero has seen fit to grace us with a letter. Would you mind terribly reading it to us, young man? He was requested to be delivered to Junpei, who, after a short moment of surprise, did just as he had been asked. It'd be easier to read off of a non-wet paper, you know. On this ship you'll find a handful of doors emblazoned with numbers. We call them the numbered doors. The doors in front of you are a pair of the same. The key to opening the numbered doors are the numbered bracelets that each of you possess. Should you total the numbers on your numbered bracelets and find that the digital root of that number is equal to the number of that door, the door will open. Only those who have opened the door may pass through. There are, however, limits. Only 3 to 5 people can pass through one numbered door. All those who enter must leave. All who enter must contribute. Bracelet. Junpei figured had to mean the bulky thing on his wrist. He glanced around. It looked like everyone else had one as well, and had come to much the same conclusion. Well, fuck. The purpose of this game is simple. Leave this ship alive. It is hidden, but an exit can be found. Seek a way out. Seek a door that carries a 9. Junpei had reached the end of the letter. There was a long moment of silence, and then the speaker crackled to life once more. There is one last thing I must tell you. As you have no doubt surmised, the ship has begun to sink. On April 14th, 1912, the famous ocean liner Titanic crashed into an iceberg. After remaining afloat for 2 hours and 40 minutes, it sank beneath the water of the North Atlantic. I will give you more time. 9 hours. That is the time you will be given to make your escape. Fuck you. The voice finished, and the speaker went silent. The sound of a bell tolling echoed through the hall. It came from the dance hall adjacent to the stairwell. It took those assembled on the stairs more moments to trace the sound to an antique clock embedded in the wall. 7, 8, 9. Well, the sound of the 9th bell faded away. The 10th never came. That meant that the time was 9 o'clock. Most likely 9 o'clock in the evening. When Junpei had peered out the window of his cell, he'd seen nothing but blackness. It had to be night time. If that was the case, then they would need to escape by 6 a.m. the following day. Now it is time. Let our game begin. I wish you all the best of luck. The speaker went silent and did not speak again.